Hey, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whichever applies to you, depending on when you're watching this and where you're watching this from. If you're watching this live, I will say good evening to you or good night if you prefer. We typically say good night when we're done. So we're not done. Oh no, there we go. Woo, sounds like I need to be done, right? I just want to commit to what I committed to, and that is um, everyday spirituality every day in December. So I had a lot of things today. Of course, we had several church services, and then I had my play tonight. Then I had a meeting after that. Just getting off the meeting not too long ago. So here we go. Everyday spirituality, day number 7. Listen, family, I'm going to jump right in this. Want you to like, share, comment if you're still awake. Let's get this algorithm going here. Give me just a few seconds to go onto my Facebook page and get this get this shared. Oh. Give me one second. I went on Facebook and I saw myself yawning. Oh Lord. I get this shared. Sorry. Give me one second. Okay, sorry about that. Went on Facebook and I saw myself yawning. Okay, there we go. My apologies, but we're just going to go ahead and get started, guys. Thank you for being here. I see there's at least one person that's still up at almost midnight. Blessings to you. Family, let me tell you something that might surprise you. Um, Jesus was not supernatural because he was dramatic. Jesus was supernatural because he was present. Because we've been talking about presence a lot lately, excuse me. But Jesus was naturally, like our day number, I don't know what day it was, but we talked from the subject, naturally supernatural. Jesus was naturally supernatural. He was not supernatural because he was dramatic. He was supernatural because he was present. Jesus didn't walk around trying to be deep. He wasn't performing spirituality. No matter what you believe about Jesus, whether you believe he was a historical figure or a metaphorical, allegorical um, figure or myth, whatever you think about Jesus, we're talking about the narrative. We're talking about the narrative. However you feel about the narrative is up to you. But the Jesus of the narrative, he wasn't trying, excuse me, he wasn't trying to impress people. All right. Um, he was simply awake, aware, aligned, conscious. And that's what made him powerful. Tonight, I want to talk about the everyday Jesus, the Jesus who lived spirituality naturally, the Jesus who showed us what everyday spirituality really looks like in the real world. I believe that we were really taught the wrong version of Jesus. A lot of us grew up with a Jesus who was unreachable, untouchable, unrelatable, and and superhuman. You know, he was magical, if you will, and mystical, and floating 6 inches above the ground. You know, so to speak, because he walked on water, calmed the raging sea. You know, he was the man from Galilee, as the song says. But that's really not the nature and the essence of the Jesus of Scripture. And it's not the Jesus of experience, the real Jesus. And again, whatever you believe about him, from the historical standpoint, those of you who believe that, the historical Jesus, the conscious Jesus, the awakened Jesus was a man who lived a spiritual life so naturally that people thought it was supernatural. Jesus was deeply spiritual, but perfectly human, you see. Jesus cried. Jesus got tired. Jesus got frustrated. Jesus asked questions. Jesus took naps. Jesus walked everywhere. I'm so sorry, guys. Jesus ate with people. Jesus had friends. Jesus had community. Jesus had alone time. Jesus was not removed from life. He was fully present in life, guys, and that's what made his spirituality real. Jesus' spirituality was not about ritual, it was about awareness. Jesus didn't teach people how to act spiritual, he taught them how to be spiritual. Look at his teachings. The kingdom of God is within you. Um, Love your neighbor. Be aware of your thoughts. Forgive quickly. Don't live in anxiety. Be present like the lilies of the field. Your eyes, the light of the body. Keep it clear. These are not rituals, these are awareness practices. Jesus wasn't giving out rules, he was giving out consciousness tools. The everyday Jesus was always teaching people really how to wake up. Jesus lived from spirit in ordinary moments, guys. Spirituality wasn't something that Jesus turned on and turned off. He didn't wait for the temple. He didn't wait for a revival. He didn't wait for a group of people to talk to, a big crowd, a multitude. He didn't wait for a worship service. He lived from spirit in conversations, at dinner tables, walking through towns, sitting by the wells, visiting friends, traveling on dusty roads, praying alone in the gardens, talking to strangers, listening to people's stories. The supernatural flowed through his everyday humanity. That's why I call him in this part of the series the everyday Jesus, because he made spirituality natural and he made spirituality accessible. You see, Jesus showed us what it looks like to live awake. Jesus lived with awareness, compassion, clarity, consciousness, freedom, alignment, and interconnection. He didn't respond from ego. He responded from essence. I look at some of the amazing conversations that the narrative records, like where Jesus was asked a question. If you just listen to some of the things he said, and even how, one time when they asked him a question at his trial, he basically stopped and just, it's like he put a lot of thought into his response. He didn't respond from ego, like the first thing that hit. He basically said, you know, you've said well. He said you've already said it. But at any rate, we won't go into that. But he didn't respond from ego. He responded from presence. He didn't react. He discerned. He didn't judge. He understood. He didn't condemn. You saw him, instead of condemning people, he was elevating people. He didn't. You don't see Jesus really dividing. He unified. That's the Jesus that many people have never met, because religion replaced him with a version that they could control. You see, but the everyday Jesus was a guide to higher consciousness, guys. This is the most important part here, and it's also the part that I think people aren't ready for. Are you ready? Jesus didn't come to be worshiped. I know y'all don't. For some people, it's very odd to hear such a statement. But Jesus didn't come to be worshiped. He came to be followed. He came to show you this is what life looks like when you live from spirit instead of ego. When you live awake, he came to show you this is what it looks like to live aware. This is what it looks like to live conscious. This is what it looks like to be spiritual. This is what it looks like to be the light of the world. I'm thinking of all the stuff that Jesus said. He came to show you this is what it looks like to be one with God. This is what it looks like to walk in the spirit instead of the ego. Jesus said, remember, the works I do, you will do also, and greater. What does that mean? I didn't come to be worshiped. I came to be an example. I didn't come to be worshiped. I came to be followed. I came to show you how you're supposed to live, how you're supposed to talk. The works that I do, you do also, and greater. What does that mean? That means don't admire me, align with me. That's what Jesus was saying. Don't admire me, don't worship me, but align with me. The everyday Jesus, guys, is not some faraway idol for us to worship. Come on, somebody. The everyday Jesus did not come, the real Jesus didn't come to be worshiped. The everyday Jesus, the real Jesus, is not far away from us. He's the consciousness within you that's really waiting to rise. The everyday Jesus is really our template for everyday spirituality. And now I got to close this, but here's the beauty of this thing. You don't have to perform. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to manufacture spiritual moments. You can live like Jesus, the master teacher, in peace, in awareness, in compassion, in truth, in presence, in inner strength, in divine connection, in oneness. Not because you're trying to be deep, but because you're living from your spirit. Jesus was naturally supernatural, and so are you. Hear me as I close. It's going to be less than 15 minutes tonight. The everyday Jesus came to show us the everyday God, a God that's not trapped in temples, a God that's not locked behind doctrines, a God that's not a God that only shows up in emotional moments, but a God who is present in breath, present in awareness, present in consciousness, present in love, and present in you. Listen, this is what Jesus came to show as the master teacher. Your job is not to reach God as if he's some faraway entity up in the sky. Your job is not to reach God. Your job is to recognize God. That's the Jesus way. That's what Jesus was teaching. Your job is not to reach God. That's why symbolically, whether you believe it's allegory and myth, whatever you believe about it, but symbolically, that's why at a point when Jesus was on the cross, the veil of the temple was rent in two, whereas the high priest only had access to what was considered or what was recognized as the presence of God, as if if God's presence could be held in a box, because the curtain was separating the holy place from the holy of holies, where the ark was, where they recognized the presence of God as being in the ark, as if the presence of God can fit in a box. See, we still trying to put God in the box. They were trying to put God in the box then, and we're still trying to put him in there. But anyway, the veil of the temple was rent to show that you have access, to show you that God is not far away. Are you hearing me? God is not far away, and your job is not to recognize God. Yes, sir. That's right, Mike, man. Your job is not to excuse me. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Your job is not to reach God, but your job is to recognize God. And that's what Jesus was teaching, because the kingdom is not coming from outside, it's rising from within. All right. Closing this tonight. I said 15 minutes. I'm right at 15 on the dot. This affirmation today is I will live. No, not I will. Let's say I do. I live like the everyday Jesus, present, aware, conscious, spiritual, loving, and aligned. That's it for tonight, guys. Listen, if this message resonated with you, like I always say, if it awakens something in you, if it reminds you of the Jesus you always knew in your spirit, I want to invite you to the Spiritual Life Center, a place where we honor the Jesus who elevates consciousness, awakens the spirit, and teaches us how to live life every day with purpose and awareness. You belong here. Your journey matters. Come and explore this journey with us at the Spiritual Life Center every Sunday, 12 noon, 1519 Bartow Place. And of course, you can always tune in online around 1 p.m. on Sundays. All right, guys, have a great day. Love you. Go and be love. Be God because God is love. Good night, all.